And Mr. Mayor, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready when you guys are.
All right, we're live and ready.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, December 15th, 2025. Time is 6:06 p.m. and we'll go ahead and do roll call. Taylor? Jackie's first Zoom meeting, so she'll have to figure out that mute button.
Here, I'm
There
here.
you go. No worries, Jackie. Barber?
Here.
Keithley?
Here.
Langbart?
Here.
And Coleman?
Here.
Okay, and I do not see Harmony. She is Councilmember Payton. She is absent tonight and had notified us earlier. So we have 5 of 6 council members present. We do have a quorum. And Heidi or Liz, if you could lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, item C, as we'd said, Councilmember Payton is the only one absent tonight. Her absence will be excused. Item D, agenda approval. I'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Langbart to approve tonight's agenda. I think we had a second by Coleman. On the approval, any further discussion on tonight's agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Taylor?
Aye.
Barber?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
Langbart?
Aye.
And Coleman?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. That'll take us on to item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Any items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. First item is item E1, minutes of the regular meeting from November 24th, 2025. And the second item will be item 3A, resolution 26-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, supporting full funding, $18,186,535 for the State of Alaska Municipal Harbor Facility Grant Program in the FY 2027 state capital budget. Final item is item 3B, which is resolution 26-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, supporting raising the maximum available Alaska Department of Transportation Harbor Facility Grant to $7,500,000 for eligible projects on an annual basis. So that is our consent agenda tonight. Does any member wish to remove any item for further discussion at a later time? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll second the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, We have a motion by Langbart to approve tonight's consent agenda with a second by Coleman. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Taylor,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
and Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent, and that was the approval of tonight's consent agenda. That will take us down to item F, mayoral proclamations. This will be proclamation 26-02 honoring Dr. David Chambers for his years of service as the medical director for Seldovia Emergency Medical Service. And let's see, this is going to be found on page 8. And give me just a second here. All right, and I will go ahead and read the proclamation. Again, this will be for Dr. David Chambers, honoring his years of service as the medical director for the Seldovia Emergency Medical Service. Whereas Dr. David Chambers stepped forward in September 2021 to serve as the volunteer medical director for Seldovia EMS, and whereas the medical director provides essential medical oversight, case review, feedback, and ongoing education for Seldovia's dedicated EMS volunteers. And whereas having a medical director enables Seldovia EMS to deliver a higher level of medical care than would otherwise be possible. And whereas the city recognizes and deeply appreciates that Dr. Chambers graciously volunteered his time, expertise, and resources to the Seldovia EMS throughout these years. And whereas the city further acknowledges Dr. Chambers' unwavering commitment to high-quality EMS training, and whereas the city is profoundly grateful for his efforts and longstanding commitment to this community and to others across Alaska, serving as an exceptional educator and advocate for EMS in Alaska, that has been especially invaluable for small emergency services such as Seldovia EMS. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jeremiah Campbell, Mayor of the City of Seldovia, and on behalf of the Seldovia City Council and all Seldovia residents, do hereby extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to Dr. David Chambers for his years of outstanding service and dedication as a volunteer medical director for the community of Seldovia. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Seldovia to be affixed on this 15th day of December 2025. All right. Well, our gratitude and appreciation certainly go out to Dr. Chambers for his years of dedication, for helping our community as well as many others to keep our EMS alive and thriving. And we certainly appreciate everything that he's done for us. So wish him luck going forward in his retirement and future endeavors. I think Liz, we're working on a replacement, or we have already confirmed our replacement.
We have confirmed Dr. Byron McCord is going to be taking over as medical director.
Good. Good. That's exciting. Byron will do a great job, and we're super fortunate in Seldovia. We've had a great run of doctors to be willing to step in and help us out, and that's fantastic. So, all right. Well, again, I'll get this signed, and again, we appreciate Dr. Chambers and all of his efforts in the past and going forward. So, thank you very much. We all definitely appreciate it. That'll take us to item G. Still struggling with my vision here a little bit, so bear with me. Take us to item G, public presentation prior notice. We have none. Item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Did we have anybody signed up tonight?
We have nobody signed up, and I don't see anybody in the room or online.
Okay. Item H, let's see, that was it. Item I, committee and advisory board reports. Looks like we have our Cook Inlet Regional Citizens Advisory Committee, otherwise known as CIRCAC report. And I see there's a written report in the packet, and then I see Walt's in
Yep,
attendance.
Walt
as
is
well.
coming up to the mic here.
Perfect.
Yeah, good evening. Pleasure to be here on this cold evening. I hope it isn't as cold in Anchorage as it is here. Probably colder, but anyway, this last week, well, the December 4th and 5th, I was in Anchorage to attend the Cook Inlet RCAC annual meeting. This is one of 3 meetings, and it's always held, the December meeting is always held in Anchorage. And this year it was at the Captain Cook, which was kind of a pleasure. We stayed there. Sachiko and I were on the 18th floor, which was really a privilege, really, to have the whole city in front of us. The Thursday meeting is basically in-house kind of a thing. It's a short meeting, finances and this and that. But Friday's meeting has a little bit more meat to it, and things that interest most people there is the first half of the meeting, and it follows the same format as the meeting here in Seldovia this past summer, where we have speakers address us about, they're invited and they address us on their various subjects of expertise. And we had Rear Admiral Bob Little, and he's in Juneau, and he is in charge of the Coast Guard over all of Alaska. And there are several sections of his command. There's Southeast, and there's Prince William Sound, and then there's West Alaska. And Western Alaska is under the command of Captain Culpepper. And he was here at the Seldovia meeting last summer. So Admiral Little has been sitting in his seat there in Juneau since the summer, and he emphasized border security throughout Alaska. And he talked about there's $24 billion that's been allocated to the Coast Guard, largely for shipbuilding. And well, there's some of it is for harbor facilities and housing and that kind of thing as well. This isn't just for Alaska. This is for all of the Coast Guard throughout the country. Largely, it's for icebreakers, and I was sort of curious. There's something called the Jones Act that ships that go in and out of U.S. ports carrying U.S. goods and stuff need to be, the hulls or the keels need to be laid in the United States, but they got a waiver because people here don't really have the expertise to build icebreakers, and there are 3 ordered. One is going to be started in Finland, and the second one in Canada, and I think the third one eventually will be built in the United States. The reason is that these 2 countries have a little bit more expertise and knowledge about building icebreakers. The third one, I think, will be built in the United States after these 2 have been completed. And so there are a number of American shipbuilders assisting in the construction of these 2 ships, and hopefully they'll bring that knowledge back with them to the United States. So there are 3 what they call the 154 rapid response cutters in Alaska, and these replace the 110s. And you might recall going to Homer, and inside the harbor near the entrance used to be what they call a 110, and the 154s are replacing the 110s throughout Alaska. There will be 6. There's a couple in Kodiak right now. One, and I think one is in Seward, or one is supposed to go to Seward. There won't be one in Homer because we don't have a place. Homer doesn't have a place to birth one. I guess with the harbor expansion project, if that comes to fore, that might change. And then there's something else that's been kicking around for 2 or 3 years now that the spill response people are interested in. There were Coast Guard regulations that said that any vessel that towed anything had to meet certain upgraded regulations of watertight bulkheads, this, that, and the other thing. And these vessels are spill response fishing vessels do not meet these standards. And we, in the works, we've applied, and I think it has to go through Congress to allow these fishing vessels legally to tow boom and that kind of thing for spill response. And I think we have kind of a wink and a nod waivers at this point, and we are in Alaska. We're still using fishing vessels for spill response. Another speaker that we had was Randy Bates, and I'm unfamiliar with him. He is the new AD, the Department of Environmental Conservation Commissioner. He's not yet confirmed, and he needs to be confirmed by the legislature. He's all for resource development, and he emphasizes that he would like to, at the same time, protect fish returns. And the third speaker was Sean McKenzie, and this fellow has been around for some time. In fact, I consider him a personal friend. He was the Port of Alaska captain of the port for the Coast Guard here. About 10 years ago, and he served a 3-year stint there. He's since retired, and he now lives in Anchorage. And just as I am a person who represents Seldovia, he took the seat, and he represents Anchorage. And he's a very knowledgeable fellow. And something that I didn't know was that he also sits in a seat that he's called the program manager for the Anchorage Office of Emergency Management. And he had a presentation that went into great detail about the refugees, if you will, of the Typhoon Halong in Western Alaska. And there were 1,500 people that their homes were gone, flooded, and they all came to Bethel, and many of them found housing their relatives in the communities out west, but 600 of them came to Anchorage, and they were housed in public buildings and initially in cots and this kind of thing. And food was provided by a number of organizations such as the Red Cross and Salvation Army. And eventually these people were moved out into apartments in town. And if they had relatives outside or wherever, they were funded transportation to go wherever they felt comfortable for housing and whatnot. But that was a very heartwarming presentation for all of us, I guess. Another pretty fun thing for me, for everyone who is involved with these organizations, is that the Prince William Sound RCAC funds what they call, on Thursday night, they fund what they call Science Night. And the speakers, there's always a nice hors d'oeuvres and a cash bar for wine and that kind of thing. And it's fun to kind of mingle with the Prince William Sound people who sit in similar seats as I do throughout the state. And the speakers this year talked about the Exxon Valdez oil spill and things that had happened since then. And there's a huge emphasis on awareness and not becoming forgetful of the spill. And that's basically what the RCACs do. We sort of, I don't know, keep guard, if you will, on industry and the state to keep up the rules and not get too lax about things. But anyway, very entertaining. And Friday night, the Prince William Sound, on their dime, they have lots more money than Cook Inlet RCAC, and they fund a really nice dinner, and there's king crab and clams and oysters and a number of goodies like that we don't normally eat. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. And we drove up and drove back, and we spent a couple extra nights in Homer because the Sunday ferry wasn't running. But it was a pleasure. So yeah, it's not all work. It's fun too. So anyway, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to.
Anyone have any questions for Walt tonight on his report? Yeah, and it's he did supply detailed on page 9 as well. Go ahead, Walt.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that'll move us on to the administrative reports on item J. The first one's going to be the finance report. And let's see here. That's going to be found on page 10 of your packet.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could point out,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to point out that in notes, our finance officer discusses that in general, the special revenue funds are running ahead of where they were at this time last year. And she made sure to put in the net effect at this point in FY25, just to show you guys that example. And I would just like to point out that there was a pretty significant change in the budget for FY26 that included a reevaluation of how much staff time is spent in each special revenue fund. And then that onus is put a little bit more on the general fund, which is where we really spend a lot of time in general. So it's, between council and administration and public works and public safety, right? Those are all in the general fund. And it appears to be that was a significant change and that we're seeing in the budget itself. And our net effect is still, for the budget is still, for the general fund is still well ahead. So a lot of our purchases do come in the spring, so I don't expect that to stay where it's at, but Something to definitely look at as we start talking in this next budget cycle is what, you know, some of those expenses are and even what some of those fees are. But really in just general, I wanted to point out that it seems like that was a really reasonable, responsible choice to make, and it's having a positive effect on your special revenue funds.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate that. Appreciate you pointing that out. Anyone have any questions tonight on the finance report? Okay, we'll move on to the Harbor Master report. That's going to be found on page 14.
Mr. Mayor, if I may on this one as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to point out that our harbor master discusses working with Alaska Clean Harbors, which is actually a fairly significant deal for the city, and they are providing some funding to help with that program, with us being a part of that program. Right now being certified as a gold status clean harbor in Alaska, but she's looking to move up to platinum. And it's been really positive so far for her working with that program itself. I would also like to say that she doesn't include on here, but just as a little shout out to our harbor master, that, you know, she has random other things on here like the Arlo cameras and the Evo pedestrian counter and the stainless steel tumblers that she's ordered and they'll sell out of the harbor over the summer with the city logo. She does a lot, and I really appreciate that for her. I think one thing that people don't realize is that in our incident command system, she's our logistics officer. And so whenever we have, even in just in general, if it's not an emergency and we have logistics with for instance, an auction or, you know, there's a big project, whatever it will be. She's really great at making sure to get everything kind of lined up and going and moving smoothly. And one such thing is a part of that incident, a part of our incident command system is re-enrolling and keeping up to date our wireless wireless priority service that we are enrolled with it's a federal program that allows us to have priority service in the event of an emergency. So we can call a special number and we get bumped to the top of the queue to be able to make phone calls through. Well, it's a lot of work and tracking down everybody's information and making sure it's up to date and checking on it once a month and making sure it's rolling. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to our harbor master, who is really a jack of all trades. And I appreciate that when the boots hit the ground and we need things done, she is always just goes above and beyond to keep things running. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Heidi. Appreciate that. Yeah, it looks like they're doing their normal thing throughout the year here. Should point out not much snow to date so far, so that's good. All right, sounds good. Any questions from anyone else on the Harbor Masters report? Okay, that'll take us on down to item J3, Public Works Maintenance Report, and that's going to be found on page 16 of your packet. Looks like we got all the normal stuff going on with the water shutoffs and probably more sanding and snow removal, I would imagine. And then Heidi, are they making any headway on the greater issues, the electrical issues there with their troubleshooting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the grader is still under warranty, thank goodness. So we had an IT guy, a tech guy, I shouldn't say IT, a tech guy come down last week, or week and a half ago, I would be now, and was able to troubleshoot. It was a much bigger problem than anticipated. Somehow we had water getting into the electrical harness. So he's replacing the whole harness. He was able to clean it up and get it running. So if we need it, it will operate right now. And is waiting on a part. I talked to him Friday afternoon, and once that part comes in, he thought he was going to be here today, but he has to wait for this part. Once it gets in, he'll be here. We expect sometime this week, and he'll replace that whole harness along with a couple other sensors and parts. And was able to troubleshoot what was needed for the new street sweeper that was supposed to be plug and play, but it was not. But it will be. So it's been really nice working with them. It's unfortunate that this has happened, but they've been fairly responsive and working well with us on it. For now and moving forward in the future, we're keeping the grader in the shop. And it's just another reason why having a pole barn or some kind of covered maintenance facility just makes sense to get that equipment out of the weather 24/7.
Okay, and just to confirm, are they covering that work, the electrical work on warranty then, or?
Through the mayor, yes, they are covering the electrical work on the grader. They're covering part of the work on the loader for the street sweeper. Like I said, that was supposed to be plug and play, but it wasn't. So we did have to have some additional parts. They split that with us. And we are, and I guess under the warranty, I should say, they don't cover travel and lodging. So it ended up being like a $3,300 ticket, which is more than what we wanted. But hopefully with him coming back down, he's able to work on both these pieces of equipment and we can move forward without further issue.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Any other? Oh, I had one more. The generator. Did we talk about that last time? I know we had a couple issues they were still working on. Did they finally get all of that straightened out, the new emergency generator over there?
I'll double check. They were going to put a trickle charge on it so that it was just on, and I'm not sure if that happened yet. But it would be good I need to check on that status. Either way, it's working. We either just have to flip it on if there's a power outage or it'll come on by itself. So I'll double check, but it is up and running.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on the maintenance report today, Public Works / maintenance report? Jackie, go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering what the status was with the manhole on the corner of Block and Spillum. Is it freezing? I know we haven't had any snow, and that's been a problem over the years.
Through the mayor, excellent question. Let me know if you are noticing any issues with it. If you're noticing today that it was painted,
Yes.
yes. So CRW and VSW will be in Seldovia tomorrow, as long as the weather allows. They're going to be here for 2 days, and we have manholes marked off because we will be going with them and popping those open, so that they can scope them and write a preliminary engineering report with well, first it'll be an alternatives memo, but we've got 9 kind of key project areas in the community that they'll be evaluating, and then we should get a really nice report at the end of it so that we can start pursuing actual construction funding for these projects.
Okay, thank you, Heidi.
All right, anyone else? Okay, sounds good. That concludes our maintenance reports tonight. Or administrative reports, excuse me. And then that'll take us on down to item K, public hearings. First one is going to be item K1, which will be ordinance 26-08, an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending Chapter 17.04 Building Code, adopting Chapter 18.66 Site Development Standards, and repealing 18.32.100, 18.36.090, 18.40.110, 18.44.100, 18.48.110, 18.52.120, and 18.56.100 visibility at intersections. And Heidi or Liz, who wants to take this one?
I'll take this one, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that mouthful there. This
All right.
was recommended by the Seldovia Planning Commission. Well, actually, it was referred by the Seldovia City Council quite a while ago. Feels like we've been in this process for a year and a half or a couple of years to look at the process for site development in the community. So when there's topographical changes, it'll change the natural drainage, like excavation or fill, and those site development types activities. It's come back and forth to the council a few times. This is the latest version. There, I believe you guys had a work session on it last month, might have been the month before. But what it's doing is extending the current application process, which is these first 4 paragraphs on page 18 of the packet. And then so you'll see it just extends out what those requirements are, as well as that it extends the permit for site development activities that are a land disturbance through grading, excavation, or paving on lands with slopes in excess of 10%. A land disturbance through grading, excavation, or paving of an area that might reasonably be expected to impact drainages or wetlands, and a proposal that will create impervious surfaces of such an extent that might reasonably be expected to impact drainages or wetlands. It also includes a permit for the demolition or removal of a building, and it's all one permit form. At the last work session, we discussed ensuring that the demolition or removal of any building or structure under 400 feet is exempt. And so you'll see that on page 20 there under number 5 at the top, it's still highlighted. Unless the building or structure is historical or connected to city water or sewer system or poses a health and safety risk requiring abandonment of hazardous materials. So if you're just taking down a little shed or outbuilding, that's great. You don't need to have a permit for it. But some of those bigger things, because that's what we're looking for, is just trying to ensure that we're limiting impact to our neighbors and impact to our utilities. The items that were crossed out at the beginning of this ordinance really are in the rest. They've been put back in to the rest of the ordinance. Is just kind of restructured. So for instance, C, late fees is under 17.04080 permit fee, and so on and so forth. There is a couple changes now with this, and that includes that we are requesting or requiring that individuals display their permits when they receive one, as well as that there are a few inspection processes during the construction, whether that be a building being constructed or a site development occurring, but mainly focused on a building structure that they speak with the city staff to perform a setback and height inspection once the building is framed but not finished. That way they don't get too far if there's an error, as well as at the end of the project. And that if we're not very easily able to determine what those setbacks are, for instance, if they say they're 5 feet from their property lines and there hasn't been a recent survey or there isn't a property marker and we're not able to easily determine as staff, we can request for a third party's setback check. And that is something we've spoken with local surveyors that they can do at a discounted rate to the property owner. So it's not a full as-built survey. It's a smaller service just to check those property lines and making sure that they're within the setback. Some other things is just clarifying that because you have a permit doesn't mean that you or it doesn't relieve the applicant of the obligation to obtain additional permits, as well as including the requirement for stormwater pollution prevention plan for projects disturbing 1 acre or more. That's on page 23. And then on page 24, there is a new section for adoption on site development standards that go through natural drainage, landscaping requirements, erosion control, fill standards, what we're looking for in that site plan itself, and then that visibility at intersections, which is why the title was such a mouthful, because this visibility at intersections on page 27, that's 18.66.090, is in almost every district in Title 18. So what this would do, if you fall on page 28, is it's going to take it out of chapter 18.32, chapter 18.36, chapter 18.40, and so on. It looks like the rest of the ordinance is missing out of my packet. So I apologize for getting distracted. Hopefully it's in your guys's. Otherwise we can make sure to get it to you. And I know it was in the introduction. But with that in mind, that is the ordinance itself. And so that you see, yeah, thank you. Any additional information on it is, wow, I'm sorry, my packet is, there should be an actual building permit application example that's updating the building permit. Which is, that would be helpful, thank you, because it's, my packet seems to be missing pages from 29 to 48. So on page 35, there's a draft example of the building permit, as well as there's a memo. Jack's on page, ooh, what page are you on there, Jack?
I'm on 37 and yeah, on 30.
31, a memo that talks about those changes. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, sounds good, Heidi. It looks like our packet's complete, so. All right. Let me go back to boom. All right, so that's ordinance 26-08. We're going to bring it back to council for initial discussion. If anyone has any questions, comments that they need clarified, or anything you want to offer, now is the time. Yeah, one thing I noticed, Heidi, that you did get the SWIP language in there. So I appreciate that on the 1 acre disturbance, 1 acre or more disturbance. I saw that was in there, and you highlighted that in yellow. So I appreciate you getting that in there. And that's pretty much standard across the state and requirement through DEC. So I just wanted that in there to make sure that no one could play dumb, if you will, when it comes to that requirement, because that affects everybody on larger type developments. Anyone else have any questions, comments before we go to the public? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to public. Liz, you have anybody signed up to speak on ordinance 26-08?
We have nobody signed up, but Mr. Selman would like to speak to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the setbacks that are written up. The old one had lots and lots of stuff on setbacks, and I can see it's been shrunk down quite a bit. But one concern that I have is that when there is an intersection and you have a tree there in this 30-foot setback, granted, you can't see through the tree, but does that mean that the tree needs to come down? Because the old setback allowed for a tree, if you whacked off the branches at 8-foot level, that would pretty much clear out the visibility. And I think that, there's a lot of intersections around with trees in the way, and I agree with you that the bushes need to be whacked back. There are a number of intersections that you need to poke your nose out before you can see if anyone's coming. But I don't know, I'd like to make an exception for a tree trunk that is not too big. That's my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
I appreciate that comment because it does look like inadvertently the greater than 1 foot wide was taken out. So if we can make an amendment and greater than 1 foot wide after the 8 feet on page 27, that would address that. Because that did change it and that was not the intent.
Okay. So, okay, on page 27, give me a paragraph number here.
All right, it's under 18.66090B.
090. Okay, right there. I got
That
you.
last sentence, between height of 2 and 3 feet and 8 feet and greater than 1 foot wide.
There shall not be a fence wall, hedge, plant, or structure between 2.5, between 2 and 1/3 feet, which is interesting, and 8 feet within the sight distance triangle.
Yeah, and if you see on page 28, in the removed visibility at intersections, it says between a height of 2 and 1/3 feet and 8 feet and greater than 1 foot wide above the line grades of the da. So just updating that to include that 1 foot.
Okay, and you need the rest of that sentence too, or?
Nope, just the greater than 1 foot wide, because
And
we've gone
greater
to a
than-
triangle instead of the center grade.
Okay,
You should be able to have a tree there. So, I don't know. It can be a foot or 10 inches or 8 inches or something, but I don't think a foot is excessive. two and 1/3 foot, 8 foot, and greater than 1 foot wide. Okay. All right, anyone else with any additional comments? So we've got that noted right there on 1866.090B. Can we just make that as an administrative correction, Heidi?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, because that was inadvertently taken out. So, and then
Yeah.
it does not significantly change it, because that's what was already in our code.
So we will include after on B, immediately after 8 feet, it will say and greater than 1 foot wide within the sight distance triangle.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Jack.
Well, because of the uniqueness of our road system here in Seldovia, I think, before I could make a comment on it, I'd like to kind of drive around and see how this is going to affect some of the residents that actually park on the street. They don't have any other parking. And I don't know that it's going to affect anybody with a 30-foot setback, but it may be some of these streets and intersections that we have might want to be looked at to see if this is going to actually pose a problem for the people that live here more than correct something that maybe doesn't need to be corrected. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think about what intersections around here might be in town here on the paved streets that this would actually apply to. You know? Just something to think about. I can't think of anything offhand.
Yeah.
But I do know that the street over there, or the couple of them, like Walt was mentioning, a tree in the proximity of the street corner itself. You know, sometimes you have to kind of edge out there, and you're dealing with slower traffic, so it doesn't, you know, but trying to think if we have any intersections that are actually critical that people that live right in the immediate town site are parking on the street that might use that as their parking place.
So through the mayor, you already have this in code, and so people shouldn't be, like, this shouldn't be an ongoing issue because this is already an existing code language, in pretty much every district in the city, as well as parking. You're not allowed to park within 30 feet of the intersection. And we know that that is an ongoing problem. And that has been a discussion with the state multiple times, and something that we need to work through. It is a little bit of a can of worms. But this code language as it is already in code. So this is cleaning it up and putting it in one section versus in every district. But it is already what you guys have in place.
So yeah, it seems like there should not be any big surprises then based on the fact that it's already been in code, and most folks are aware of that. Obviously, if there's something that were to come up out of this, then we could address it at that time. But it looks like at this point we're just getting everything cleaned up and reworked over on the ordinance to bring it up to date.
Mayor Campbell, Mr. Sonnen would like to make one more comment.
Yeah.
Sure.
One comment, Jeremiah, and there are several corners where the topography will get into the way. I mean, will the property owner be obliged to remove dirt so that people can see in the intersection? I don't see anything in there, and I think that would put a burden on the property owner to do that. It's just another comment. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I mean, when you think about any of the communities, older communities around the state, and certainly if you look at any of the communities that are on any kind of crazy hills or topography in them, you know, Kodiak, Ketchikan, Juneau, Sitka, any of these places, Seldovia, you know, there, and then where you get really oddball size streets, especially small streets, yeah, that we don't fit in the one size, you know, grid system where everything's nice and neat and tidy, and we've got, you know, roads that are standard sizes and all of that. So Heidi, is there any language in here that addresses some of those anomalies?
So, Mr. Mayor, I believe
Yep.
it's addressed in B itself because it talks about that there shall not be a fence, wall, hedge, planting, or structure, or other obstacle, including vehicles that will impede visibility. I don't think the intent is discussing about hills or natural topography. We're talking about placing an item or creating a hazard within that visibility intersection. That sight distance triangle.
Yeah. There shall not be fence, wall, hedge, planting, or structure, or other obstacle. Yeah, I mean that seems to address, and that doesn't change. That's been in there.
Yes. Yep, if you look at page 28 and on, you
Yeah.
can see where it's in every district.
Yeah, yeah.
The one thing that is changing is we took out above the center line grades of the intersecting streets and we just put within the site-based site distance triangle, which actually makes it a little bit more loose.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the thing is, if you know people are beating down your door here, and we've got issues, then obviously we need to look at look at that. And the whole intent is that we want to make sure that folks aren't creating some sort of new problem. We realize that we've got some existing anomalies within our community on some of this stuff, but yeah, we're just trying to keep it from creating any more problems going, with future development into the future here. Okay, definitely some good points brought up. Anyone else? Did we have anyone else in the public, or was that it, Liz, for the public?
That is it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yeah, we'll bring it back to council for final action. And then, unless anyone's got any additional comments or questions or changes, then we would look for a motion to approve ordinance 26-08 with the one administrative correction in 1866.090B.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to pass ordinance 26-08 with the administrative change.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Langbart to approve ordinance 26-08 with the administrative correction. We have a second by Keithley, I believe. Any additional comments on ordinance 26-08 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of ordinance 26-08. All those in favor, Taylor,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
and Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Okay, that'll take us to item K2, which is ordinance 26-09, a non-code ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending the FY 2026 fee schedule to include additional building and site development, permit application fees, and fees for abatement. This will be found on page 46 of your packet, and we'll go ahead and let staff present.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 46 and 47 of your packet is the ordinance. And then on page 48, you can see those amendments to the fee schedule, the FY 26 fee schedule that includes site development in the language. So building and site development permits, and then requesting from council a fee for a structure that is greater than 400 square feet being demolished or removed, as well as a fee for site development permits. I did hear Councilmember Barber mention maybe $50 at the last meeting or after the last meeting. So having something, nominal but reasonable, because there is a little bit of time and effort into that. And just looking for suggestions to fill that in and then set that in our fee schedule moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. All right, so there's the 2 under the building and site development here. There's 2 fees that have the XXXs on them, and that is the greater than the 400 square feet demolition removal of structure. And then then the other one is separate site development projects. What am I missing here? Is this one fee or is this two fees?
I believe that was the one
right.
that Councilmember Barber was saying, $50 for the administration time, and then one for site development projects. Which, could be maybe that's similar to an accessory addition remodel, at a $100 or a $200 level, and they both do take time, but not as much time as a new residential or commercial structure. I'm assuming
Okay.
we
So
haven't
the-
done it yet, but.
Yeah, the way this is worded, okay, so one's for the demo and then one is for just any site development project.
Correct.
Okay.
Going and tearing out a hill or filling a lot, what's that cost look like?
Okay, and the proposal was $50 for the demo one or the site development one?
50 for the demo and 100 for the site development, but really it's all up to discussion.
Okay. All right, well, we'll open it up. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Or so right now, the talk was 100 for the demo and 50 for the site development. We're open to anything.
I think their time is going to be taken up with this. I believe that $50 is fair, and probably $100 when you're looking at is where is the setback, and making sure that someone's property isn't damaged by a neglectful build.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
I
Jackie.
agree with the council on the $50, but I think maybe the fine for people who don't take the time to get the permit and do it anyway, because there is a lot of that happens and has happened in the past. And so I think maybe the fine should be bigger. But $50 for a permit is fair.
And through the mayor, the fine right now for not having a building permit or site development permit is $500 a day each day.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it was a day. I thought it was
Yeah,
once.
it's not included in the fee schedule. It's included under our general provisions in Title I, under our
Okay.
uniform minor offense table. So
Okay.
that's in there as failure to obtain a building site development permit for a new structure or alteration is $500 a day. And that language probably could be updated to the broader sense of the permit, and we can bring that back at an upcoming meeting to make sure that it's covering everything in the building permit.
So what's the difference between that and the one right here that we're looking at, unauthorized building / construction, 250 per occurrence / month until permit submission? So you're saying if this one just says if you start building, okay, I guess, yeah, if you just start building away with
Without
or
the
I mean
permit.
without the permit, then you're getting charged. So you're subject to both of these then at the same time, correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I have a question. So if somebody chooses to build a building within the city limits on his own lot and he doesn't get a building permit, then we're gonna find him $500 a day until he gets one. Is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
Through the mayor, we don't historically, we have had this happen. We've had a couple of them happen this year. We have a process where we have a form letter that we send out to everybody that we can have verified has not filled out a building permit, requesting them to come in. And if they don't respond to that, then we'll send out a second one that's more strongly worded that says we will begin fining if you do not come in. And to date, we haven't had anybody not come in after the second warning. So that has worked. But that is the process, is trying to get people to, we're not necessarily in the business of wanting to just go out and find people without giving them the opportunity to follow through. So we do have a two warning system right now. And we work with people if they need a building permit and it's whatever troubles or issues, like we will take the time to sit down and work through an application with somebody. We are trying to up our social media presence and our newsletters and our education and information that we share with people in the community. And I think this needs to be one of them as well. It's just making sure that people are aware of what the expectation is and how we can help and assist in that process to make it smoother.
Okay.
Well, yeah, certainly the $500 per day would get someone's attention. And it's nice to see that it can be used as a tool and that we haven't had to use it, I guess. So, yeah, that's the whole point. If you can have it corrected, administratively before a person gets into that, that's ideal. All right, anyone else? Any additional questions or comments on ordinance 26-09? So right now I'm hearing 100 for the demo permit and 50 for the site development piece of that. I'm fine with that for permit fees. Those are not over exorbitant and seem more than reasonable. Liz, anyone from the public that wants to weigh in or provide testimony that was signed up or in person?
I'm not seeing any, Mr. Mayor, but if I could clarify with you, the demolition permits was $50 and what was for the site development projects?
No, the demolition one was 100 and the site development one was 50.
I actually believe that it is, the demolition was 50 and the site development is 100. The demolition being like a small building and it's more it wouldn't take quite as much time for the staff to look it over, is my understanding.
Okay, I might have heard that. I might have heard that and wrote that down wrong. Is that the case?
I think the $50 was for the demo of a building, and on a new site development, that was 100.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for correcting that.
Mr. Mayor, we should point out that there is a charge in there for the abatement of junked property per SMC 8.06, which was an ordinance that was recently passed by City Council for abatement. So just making it clear that if the city is responsible or involved in the abatement process, there is an hourly charge on equipment used plus labor plus 20% administration fee. And that's on page 49.
Okay. Okay, if there's no one else from the public, then we'll bring it back to council for final action. As discussed, we got that sorted out. We stand at the a $50 permit price, permit cost for the less than 400 square feet of demolition, and the $100 permit price for the site development project.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 26-09.
Okay.
Now I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Langbart to approve ordinance 26-09 as discussed with the permit fees of the 50 and 100. As we discussed, we'll have a second by Taylor. Any further discussion on ordinance 26-09 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of ordinance 26-09. All those in favor, Taylor?
Aye.
Barber?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
Langbart?
Aye.
And Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. All right, that will take us over to item L, unfinished business. We have none. Item M, new business. Looks like we have 3 on here. First one is going to be item M1, resolution 26-12. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, adopting the annual update of the capital improvement plan for the 2026 through 2031 6-year cycle and establishing state and federal capital project legislative priorities for fiscal year 2027. This is going to be found on page 50 of your packet. And we'll go ahead and let staff present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's a work session December 1st with the city council, and 10 new projects were presented for inclusion, and 10 projects were included into this plan, as well as there was a recommendation for the legislative priorities for FY 2027 being a heavy equipment complex, and this is on page 53 of the packet. Heavy equipment complex with archival storage out of the inundation zone, small boat harbor float improvements, skid steer with forklift and brush hog, and backhoe replacement. High priority projects were the harbor office improvements, a vacuum truck, super sucker dry vac with a jetter, and municipal dock improvements. And then added into the mid-range priority projects was the stormwater improvements for Kachemak Street, stormwater improvements for citywide basin study, and the comprehensive safety action plan. Added to long-range priority projects was the facility improvements for Airport Jackaloff Bay Dock and Outside Beach Outhouse. And that should be outhouses. I can update that, as well as Fish Creek Dam Removal and Restoration Project, Watershed and Wetlands Assessment, Housing Needs Assessment, Coastal Resilience Plan, and Habitat and Conservation Projects for Trina Lake and Watershed Properties. Everything else, I mean, and you saw those drafts except for that Habitat and Conservation Projects for Trina Lake and Watershed Properties. So that one was updated. The other one that was updated was the waterfront marine project to take care of some of the comments that we heard from council at that meeting. I'm trying to scroll to it to get to the right page. I will also update the page numbers on that table of contents in the final plan. But if you scroll with me here to, we're going to go to almost there. For the Waterfront Marine Center development, it is on page 80 of your packet. Kept it similar to what it was before, but wanted to ensure that at the bottom of the plan, on the bottom of page 80, included a sentence in there That building renovations will be adaptable and lot improvements will be temporary in nature to allow for the long-range support of a larger industrial economic development opportunity. Because that seemed to be the sentiment that we heard out of council. If that doesn't meet the needs, or if you guys want more information, because I reread it and I was like, this really is just more an information page at this point in time of where we've been and some of the desire of the community on where to go. So then including that caveat on there that there's still a desire to see a larger industrial economic development opportunity if available for that space. Does that meet your needs, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly happy with that. I mean, anyone else from council can chime in. I think that was my main concern, is just not to two block us down there, but definitely to be able to allow in the short term, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, whatever it is, for if we have other uses that we're using it for now that can benefit the community, let's go ahead and stay the course and do that. But if there was ever an opportunity for some sort of larger industry or infrastructure needed, or something was going to happen with our multi-use facility, then we've got options. So I think that's what we heard from most council members, is as long as we have got that retain that right to have some options in there, I think that works for us.
Okay, then the other change that you guys have not seen yet is the Trina Lake and watershed properties, and I'm scrolling to that page as well. And that's towards the end of the packet here on page 91. So that is newly written at the direction of the city council from the work session to include this as one of the projects. And still working on it. Just had a conversation with the Kachemak Heritage Land Trust the other day. And it was also included, the Trina Lake parcels were included as an area of interest in our most recent Fish Creek assessment grant application that it was a statement of interest that we submitted 2 weeks ago to the Denali Commission with the help of our partner from NOAA, Kissimmee Bay Lab, NOAA facility. Otherwise, the plan remains the same as you saw it previously. And like I said, I'll update those page numbers and any other changes you guys need. And if you want to hold another meeting or work session on that, we can as well. But this is what came from that December 1st work session. And
Okay.
Yep, and that resolution on page, if you go back to page 50, just it calls out those 4 priority projects for state and federal legislative requests. I would like to say that the skid steer is still in the appropriations bill with an AML bundle from last year. So it's nice that if it is in here, we can, if we need to reapply as part of that bundle, we can show this and reapply, as well as maybe potentially that backhoe.
Great, thank you, Heidi. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it over to council. Yeah, it looks like we've got pretty much everything addressed that we talked about. Open it up to council comments, questions. Anything additional that folks wanted to see in here, or any changes? If we're good, we can get this approved tonight. If we need to hold another meeting, work session or something, we can certainly do that. Or make any changes through amendments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep,
Mayor?
go ahead.
It looks really good to me. Thank you, Heidi, and our staff for all your hard work on this every year. It's a fun project kind of to work through and see where we're at and get the wish list put together. So nothing popped out that seemed missing that I could see. Maybe their eyes on council might catch something, but it looks good to go on my end.
I agree. I think it looks just fine like it is.
I agree with Ashley and Jackie. A lot of time has been put into this, and I think it's ready to let it go.
Okay, great. Thank you, the three of you. Anyone else before we move on to the public?
I just wanted to mention I'm in approval of this updated comprehensive plan. It looks great, Heidi. Thank you for all your efforts in updating it. Looks good.
Great, thank you, Meg. All right, Liz, anyone from public signed up or in person that wishes to comment on resolution 26-12?
We have Mr. Solomon in the room.
Okay,
Yeah, it's me again. I have a comment, the dam removal project for the lower dam. It's the reason, I don't know, a lot of it's been taken out. Seems like fish can get up there, no problem with the dam intact. However, has anyone considered that the water that flows through Fish Creek is contaminated by the runoff from the borough dump out the road? This was a very contentious thing among a number of us. I can remember soliciting a petition around town, and I got a number of signatures on it not to place the dump where it is right now, and it was overridden by the borough council, and they put the dam there anyway, for a number of financial reasons, I'm sure. But it's cited on page 89, it mentions that it may be a potential city secondary water source. And I don't know about that. I mean, it's water, but I think it would have to go through a pretty good refining process to remove all of the chemicals and whatnot that drain off from the dump. And as far as the fish concerned, I don't know. They're making it through there anyway, and it may not seem polluted, but I have my suspicions that it is. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Thank you.
Walt, when you mentioned that, has there been water samples taken to confirm the contamination, or at least in the recent year?
I don't know.
I mean, it might be worth investigating the quality of that before we actually make a.
I would suggest,
Because I've heard the same thing, but you know, it'd be worth taking it to the lab and letting them analyze the thing and seeing, is it treatable water? You know, it might not be perfect, but it might be treatable water, but it might be on the other way and too far out. And, you know,
I think that's a great suggestion.
I think we should know what it is before we just pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Walt. Yeah, and so as part of this, right, so we've got this proposal is for the Fish Creek Dam removal and restoration project. And I think now, I mean, the dam has been open, and that's why fish are able to go through there. This project involves planning, design, removal of the Fish Creek Dam to restore natural fish passage for Pacific salmon while evaluating the potential to implement a minimal or non-invasive filtration system for the creek as a backup water source. So that tells me that, I mean, this would be a great, I mean, I think leaving it as is fine, because as part of that process, the first thing we're going to have to do is some water sampling, right? And that's going to tell us, I mean, right out of the gate, you know, if that water, you know, yeah, I've heard the same thing. And way back when I was initially on council, we had a number of discussions. I think back when we were, yeah, when we were building the water treatment plant and discussing the removal, that was why we disconnected this water source um from all the piping. We disconnected it because it was told to us at that time that that water was contaminated and would not, you know, become a backup water source for the city. Heidi, I don't know if you got anything additional to shed on that, but yeah, I mean, even if we left this as is, I mean, I would think as part of this investigation process, you know, having engineers collect samples and, you know, do a workup would be the very first thing that we would do if we ever considered it as another backup water source.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so this starts with an assessment of the area and determination if we should even remove that dam, if it can still be used as a secondary water source. Then that would be a bigger conversation. If it's not capable, or we can do a lower impact project to be able to utilize that water, then that'll be part of that discussion as well. So you can see this on page 86 for the project description as a whole. And really the grant that we just applied for with SVT, actually SVT applied for it, was exactly that. It wasn't the removal of the dam yet, but making that assessment and determination of whether it should be removed or not. And we just applied for one through the Denali Commission that could include more of that removal, that second phase, if that's warranted. But this is a multi-phase project that includes that initial assessment of the capabilities and use of that water source as a secondary water. And the reason why it's in there is because it's in our plans dating back decades that is a secondary water source for the city, as well as the city has water rights with some restrictions on times of year and how much can be closed off and such. But to utilize that source as a secondary water source, and it's been used historically in the past as a secondary water source. What I've seen in the city records is that hasn't had really great results. And I've certainly heard the rumors in town that there's been issues, and I believe that there was testing done in the early 2000s or the late 90s that showed cryptosporidium and giardia in it. I haven't heard of any recent testing, but that will certainly be part of this project.
Yeah, and I mean,
Would it,
go ahead. Go ahead.
would it be possible just to add that wording into assessment and water testing so that the city at large realizes that, that is going to be part of the process? Can we just like add that detail in? Would that be possible?
So under phase one, it does talk about the ecological impact assessment and community engagement, as well as engineering, designing, and permitting. So it'd be in that. First, it says the initial phase focuses on evaluating the impacts of removing Fish Creek Dam on fish passage and habitat. It will explore the feasibility of incorporating low impact or non-invasive filtration systems to utilize Fish Creek as a secondary water source. It talks about where it's at in our 2003 water and sewer feasibility study. And again, that such as giardia or cryptosporidium contamination, which has led to the decommissioning of the water source. So if we need to put more language in there, we can, but that's the first step, is to do that impact assessment.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think it goes without saying in this day and age, you can't do anything with, you know, water and sewer without water quality testing. You won't get anywhere. You won't get anywhere with DC or EPA without it. So and that would be one of the, you know, obviously the very first steps to establish a baseline, you know, as part of that process. So I'm comfortable personally where it's at, because yeah, I know that's all part of it. We're not going to get anywhere down the road, if it's, if it's deemed a contaminated water source and it comes back, full of nastiness other than, the Giardia and Cryptosporidium, then there's, Jesus, there might have to be we might be opening up Pandora's box here, but it might, let's just hope, that it's not, anything crazy coming out of there. So, I mean, obviously I would want, fish tested, all of that. I mean, people are catching fish over there all the time, and have been for years and years and years. So, we want to make sure whatever's coming out of there might not be suitable for a public water supply, but it might be suitable just fine, when it's mixed into the rest of the slough, wash in, wash out every day. So, which I suspect might be the case. But yeah, no, I think this is a good project, and hopefully at some point we can get it off the ground and get it rolling.
I can make cement out of it.
Perfect.
I think if the meaning is understood and everyone's comfortable with it, I'm fine with it too.
I'll pass on the beaver fever.
Yeah, no one wants that.
I'll second that.
Oh, let's see. So, all right, where are we at here? Yeah, we got the public. Anyone else from the public? Liz?
No, Mr. Mayor, we don't have anybody else in the room.
All right, then we will bring item M1, resolution 26-12 back to council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to adopt resolution 26-12 as written.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I second that.
All right, we have a motion by Keithley to approve resolution 26-12 with a second by Coleman. Any further discussion on resolution 26-12 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 26-12. All those in favor, Taylor,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langvart,
Aye.
and Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Thank you, everyone. That was a good discussion on that. And yeah, I look forward to getting that moving along. That'll take us to item M2. Let's see here, making a note. M2 will be resolution 26-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, establishing the Seldovia City Council priorities for calendar year 2026. This is going to be found on page 99, and we'll let staff take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you remember at the work session in early December, this was a topic that you guys did not get to. So we put it on the agenda so you guys can have that discussion now. If you need more time, absolutely, we can do this in another venue or setting. I did try to kind of take an initial stab at it from just hearing what your guys' priorities were in the capital improvement plan and from what I've heard from council members in general. That resolution, as stated, is on page 99, and it follows a similar format as the resolution from last year, where keeping that top 3 overall arching priorities of improving city finances, then the capital project and capital improvement plans and goals. That is a little bit of a change. It was just in capital improvement plans and goals, but broadening that out to include an emphasis on capital projects in general, as well as number 3, which was community development. And then if you go to page 101, you'll see that draft. 2026 Seldovia City Council priorities and goals, laid out again with those overarching headers of improving city finances, the capital project and capital improvement plans, goals and priorities, and community development. You guys have made some significant progress on your improving city finances from the previous year, which I believe is in the packet on page 102. So there was 3 goals: establish fund reserves, develop capital budget when funds are available, and provide funds for assigned fund balances. You are nearing the finish line for providing funds for the assigned fund balances, but it is still included as a goal under FY26, or sorry, calendar year 26, if that is something that you desire. And the developed capital budget was actually removed because in a recent budget amendment that you guys did, really cleaned up that capital improvement plan budget section under the reserves page, and is looking pretty good. So you are well on your way to having a nice capital budget in your budget overall. But with that, then making sure that we have policies established for those reserve and capital budgets, which was a recommendation, and that's number 3 under improving city finances. And then it's still keeping the meet general fund assigned funds, like as stated, getting pretty close, and then meeting the fund ending balance reserve target. So just rewording that so that maybe it's a little bit more user friendly. That was still the number 1 priority from last year. And again, getting close. If I was going to recommend including anything else, it could potentially be, updating procurement policies and financial policies to include things like a cash flow management plan. That was something that me and the finance officer have discussed over the last 6 months or so as we're seeing our accounts become more healthy. And actually was something that came up in discussion at the conference we were at last week. And it was really fascinating to hear how other communities are updating their policies and what they're doing in times of deficit. And so it seemed like that could be a benefit to be ahead of when we're not in a deficit. So those are a couple of suggestions. I don't know if there are other things you guys want to look at including, and maybe we stop there and just talk about the improving city finances, and then we can move to the next section. Or if anybody doesn't like this format and wants to do a different format, whatever works best for you guys for those priorities that you want to see city staff spend time on, along with our regular everyday operations.
Thanks, Heidi. Anyone, I do like the idea about the updating a cash management plan. Yeah, obviously every small city, along with many large cities have had to buckle down and, figure out how they're going to cover the gaps while they're, waiting on additional funding sources or trying to identify additional funding sources, and obviously making sure you got enough cash to get you through, especially in times like this when we're trying to, when we're doing grant projects that have a match requirement and or, we're using our cash until we can get reimbursed. That obviously starts to put a little bit of strain on city finances, as we know. So having some sort of priority plan in place for that to, have a stopgap in there, or at least address times like that when they come up, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I second that. I think that we need to be proactive, and I think that this would be really helpful if we had a cash flow plan.
You're whispering.
Anyone else have any ideas or anything else they would want to maybe add or see changed, or anything on the improving of the city finances?
If there's nothing else, we do have Councilmember Keithley called out as a council champion overall for this category. And I don't know if you have a desire to continue to be that liaison from the city council to city staff regarding improving finances, or if there are other council members who want to take this on as an overarching category, or even just pieces of it. If there are things like if somebody's really interested in a cash flow management plan and wants to work with me on it, I would absolutely welcome that, or, you know, establishing policies for reserve and capital budgets. Just in general, if there's interest, by designating an individual on this plan, it notifies the public and has it in the priorities that there may be times that we're going to work on it individually with each other instead of the council as the whole, and then that'll come back to the council when it's ready. If there's any interest, let me know.
You can keep me on there.
Okay. Not adding anybody else to that. We can move on to capital project and capital improvement plan goals and priorities. So again, just expanding that capital improvement plan, because it's not just what's in the plan. It can be a little bit bigger than that. Though most everything really is in that plan itself. So you had in 2025, 7 projects. And in 2026, I believe we kept most of those 7. So raw water at the top, BSW water and infrastructure projects. That's where we're expanding to capital projects, because those VSW water and infrastructure projects are in the capital improvement plan for last year, but now they're just written as they've been funded. So making it a little bit broader since they're not full project descriptions on that page. And then number 3, complete. I did add that language, complete Jacklaw Bay Dock replacement project, because again, it's listed as a funded project in the CIP, but it does not have the full project description page. Number 4, increase digital equity through access to broadband. And that's a great collaborative project. And we actually just signed a letter of support today with Chugach who's exploring some different alternatives for our area. And then number 5, complete fuel retail and distribution facility roof improvements. Again, funded. So we're just moving through these projects that have been funded. And then number 7 was the multipurpose building generation improvement project, but that has been completed. Completed to what it needed to date. There's probably some work that could still be done on it, but nothing in that large of a scale. So instead, after hearing from the council at that work session regarding the CIP itself, and that there was a desire that the city be able to take on and plan for in our budgeting some more of these smaller projects that we can do internally and don't need to seek funding for, or as much funding for. So put in there as a recommendation, fund small infrastructure deferred maintenance needs, including that harbor office improvements. So that's that roof replacement that was a high priority for the Seldovia City Council. The dock improvements, again, a high priority. BHO improvements have been included in the budget, some to date, but seems to be an ongoing priority. Not necessarily talked about as much, but recently talked about with staff is the MPB improvements, at least the stairs. So maybe not the full project, but trying to plan and budget. And I'm not saying we all have to do this in 2026, but working towards a plan to replace those stairs on the back of this building here. Resurface water storage tank was included in the FY26 budget, and small harbor repairs, finger hinge pins and electric are continue to be in the budget every year. And then the SLU lift station repairs, you guys also budgeted for that match for the SRF loan. So if you can see, really, there are things that you've already had movement on that are already included in the budget, a lot of them, or could potentially be in an upcoming budget. But trying to ensure that we don't lose track of them and that they, stay relevant and at the forefront if this is a priority for the city council. Or if there are other things that you guys would like to see on here for capital projects or capital improvement plan goals. I know that Councilmember Barber has mentioned the heavy equipment storage complex, which is on here. I've heard, I'm trying to think of some of the others that I've heard from you guys recently, but yes, that was my initial trying to put something on paper. Please let me know what you think.
Heidi, I like the small infrastructure deferred maintenance needs. One thing that didn't make it on here was some of the and I know we have to work with the state, but I don't want to lose focus on that sidewalk repairs on Main Street. Whether that's, just tackling some of those really bad ones that are turning out to be trip hazards now, or if it's, one big project that we, work through with DOT.
I made a note to add that, Mr. Mayor.
I do like that you added that in there, though. I think that was something I brought up as well, that yeah, we gotta even on these small ones, we can't keep waiting. We gotta slowly chip away at them when we have money and keep working before they become bigger problems, I guess.
I
Anyone
agree,
else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Jackie.
I was just saying, I agree that we should start hammering at some of the small stuff like the staircase at the multipurpose building. That's something that can be done out of our budget. It's not going to be that expensive.
Yeah, and I agree, Jackie, and I think we've got multiple, smaller local contractors that can knock that out for a reasonable price. So. Yeah, I like where we're headed here. Anyone else before we move on to that last one?
I'd like to I'm going to be talking to Gable Steel tomorrow, and I can get a new price quote on a 50 by 100 maintenance facility just for conversation, if nothing else. And my question is, does it have to be US made? Is it?
Through the mayor, excellent question. If it is, so we don't have a grant fund for it yet. If we do receive funding for it, most likely, yes, it would have to be American Iron and Steel.
If there was a 30-40% difference in price, would that be something the city would consider doing on their own, depending on how much money we're talking about?
Well, that's a great question. Is that something you want to consider as a council? We could have a discussion on that when we're talking about the budget. Yeah.
I need to talk to them and.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll keep that one moving along.
And then, Mr. Mayor, is there anybody, so it sounds like we have for a council champion for the heavy equipment storage complex, we're gonna say Councilmember Barber.
Okay.
Anybody else want to throw their name in the hat for any of these projects or in general?
I'm always chiming in on those, but I don't have a problem being the champion on that one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we can have two if there's somebody else or there's individuals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, not hearing anybody else, then community development is the last category. And for that, it's strengthening community resources and development through advocacy, planning, and local and state partnerships. And we continue to hear that prioritizing those local and state partnerships is a significant priority for the city council. You can see on page 102, I believe that it stayed very much the same. I found it interesting to revisit because it has that housing needs assessment on there, and that's been called out, multiple times in the CIP and in the updated comprehensive plan as we work on it. So that comprehensive plan is in the works, update. But certainly some of these other ones could still use a lot of attention, like updating the lump. It's just not quite doing what we want it to do, and that was a priority for a previous council member, Kennedy. And let me see, I know the housing needs assessment is a priority for planning commission, and Randy has been really a significant champion. So even though we're asking for council champions, she might be a good one as just a planning commission champion, if that's even applicable. I think she would be great. And let me see here. We're working on that Fish Creek Dam project with NOAA and SVT. I don't know if there are other things, AMHS always remains at the top. Are there other development projects that you guys want to see prioritized on here? Do we want to talk about the Marine Waterfront Center here? I know it's a capital improvement project, so maybe that's muddying the waters, and maybe we already have a lot going on, but it could even be that supporting businesses and economic development in the community. That's kind of broad, but that is in the CI or in the comp plan in quite a few places. And just it could stay as it is, but if you guys have ideas or things that you want to update to it, certainly let's get it on here.
If anyone's got anything they want to add, go ahead and chime in. Yeah, it does. I mean, Heidi, your comment about getting, the water's muddied, it does start to get a little bit wonky, when we've got this already addressed in our CIP. So, I mean, that's probably, if there's any hesitancy, it's probably because of that. So just not want, I mean, realizing that it's nice to identify here, but not wanting to muddy the waters too much.
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
I wouldn't mind joining forces with Randy and possibly championing this one as well.
Housing needs or community development in general, which includes housing needs.
I think community development. Yeah.
And we do still have Keekly on there. Is that still work for you?
Yes, that still works for me.
Okay.
All right, going once, twice. Any additional adds, changes? Okay. Liz, do we have anybody signed up from the public or anybody in the chambers that would like to speak to Resolution 26-13?
We have nobody signed up online. And it's not looking like we have anybody in the chambers wanting to speak.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring Resolution 26-13 back to council for final action. And then just to be clear, we did add the development of the cash management plan under the improving the city finances. Heidi had pointed out that number 7 under capital project and capital improvement plan goals, that's adding the funding the small infrastructure deferred maintenance needs was an adder. And then basically community development had pretty much stayed the same as 2025.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then adding in the council champions for Councilmember Barber under Heavy Equipment Storage Complex Planning Project, and the Planning Commission Chair Randy Sweet under Housing Needs Assessment, as well as Councilmember Coleman in general under Community Development, along with Councilmember Keithley, who is still under Improving Finances as well.
Perfect. All right. Then if there's nothing additional, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve resolution 26-13.
I'll make the motion to approve it, resolution 2613.
I'll second that.
Oop, go ahead, Meg, your second.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Barber to approve resolution 26-13. We have a second by Langvart to also approve resolution 26-13. Any additional comments before we vote on the approval of resolution 26-13? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor, Taylor,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langvart,
Aye.
and Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. That will take us to our last item of the evening. That is going to be item M3, a resolution 26-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, authorizing the issuance of requests for proposals, RFP number 04-2026, design build services for fuel retail facility improvements, which is the roof replacement. And we can go ahead and let staff present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is on page 103 of the packet, and I will just start with saying that there may be a small delay with getting this out. I did send it to our partners with the Community Development Block Grant through the DCRA, and they're reviewing it, and I haven't got a full response back. I've specifically asked about the federal requirement piece, making sure that we have the right requirements in there. Otherwise, I feel pretty confident that most everything is what they're requesting. So there might be a few small changes and might be a small delay, but trying not to delay it out too far. Overall, feeling pretty good about the RFP in general and hoping to get this underway so they can get a new roof sooner than later. Any questions, please let me know. Again, this is through a community development block grant. And there is a small, not small, but there is a 20% match, part of that being cash match and part of it being an in-kind contributions that the council has already committed to. So with that, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And we're okay to go ahead and discuss this and then take action on this tonight, even with that delay on the other side.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I need to declare substantial financial interest in this issue due to my employment by the Seldovia Fuel and Lube, and I'm asking to be excused from the vote on this matter.
Okay. I would probably agree on that. I'm always a little torn on these on the conflicts, but that probably makes sense. So I would say based on your declaration, you are excused from the vote. I would like to say though that per our code, if a council member has been excused due to a conflict of interest, and they should obviously not vote on the matter. But per the Seldovia City Council, they may participate in the discussion, and it is included in the minutes that they are excused during the actual vote. So I'll go ahead and rule that, based on your declaration, you're excused from the vote. But you can participate in any discussion if you wish.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you for bringing that up. All right, that'll take us to, we'll go ahead and open it up for any discussion, comments on resolution 26-14. Now let's see, this is going to be found on page 103 of your packet. I think one thing to note here is, so we've got the funding approved through the CDBG, in the amount of 241,557. And then, the one thing, there'll be a match on this project. Looks like it's about 42,000 cash match from the major maintenance and repair fund. And then about 38,000, for in-kind contributions for the grant. So all in all, about 80,000 between cash and in-kind on the part of the city. And that's, Heidi, I'm reading that correct, right? You add the two up, about 80,000 altogether.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, and that has already been obligated by the city council.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments, questions on resolution 26-14?
I have a question. On design build, what are we talking? I mean, the roof, is this strictly pertaining to the roof replacement and nothing more, not to remodel the whole building inside and out, or what?
Through the mayor, excellent question. So it is a design build because part of the grant is that we have an engineering plan for it, as well as we have it signed off by the state fire marshal's office, which requires an inspection of the electrical and the overall structure. However, the construction project itself is just for the roof. It may include some additional purlings, which is what we put in the estimate itself, because from local contractors and Mr. Mayor, who reviewed it initially when we were talking about this project, it looked like overall as a structure, it may need some additional supports, but that'll also be part of the engineering. But yes, in general, we are talking about the roof itself.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions, comments on resolution 26-14?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Heidi, is this going to restrict some of the operations that is happening inside the building currently? Or will it be operating at full capacity during the roof repair?
Through the mayor, excellent question. So we did include under the scope of work that the contractor needs to work with the city and the tenant to limit as much distraction or what is the word I'm looking for? To limit
Impacts.
impacts to the business as much as possible.
Thank you.
Same.
Yeah, and that full RFP is included as well. If there's any questions or comments on that, it's pretty comprehensive. Like anything, yeah, there'll be definitely could be at certain times when you're ripping the roof off of this, some sort of impact or disruption. But hopefully they'll have to have a plan, with the with the building tenants to make sure that everything is going to move forward without a big disaster in terms of operations. So obviously we only have one fuel company in town, and we can't really afford to be without it. So
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's on page 108. It's about midway down and it says, coordinate with the operating tenant and city to minimize impact and disruption to the business as well as nearby road users. Because we wanted to call that out as well, that they can't fully block and take up, the whole sections of the road.
Out of curiosity, Heidi, have you guys had discussions with the tenant yet on what like timeline looks like? So that we know as far as when we get these RFPs in and start getting the ball rolling to know what we're aiming for is when we want to see the construction happen. Just thinking about, between time of year, weather, also time of year, tourist season, if any of that has been discussed yet.
Through the mayor, so we have had some small discussion on it. Really, they have been in communication with me frequently about the need and desire to have this done sooner than later. So the hope is to be able to get this out, and knowing that it's a January timeline, there is some engineering components. It may be tight for this spring. It would be preferred, but if not, certainly then we'll work with the tenant to see what a timeline in the summer or fall will look like. But I know that they have a real desire to have this done now.
Perfect, thank you.
all right, anyone else? Questions, comments on resolution 26-14? Okay, we can move over to the public. Liz, anyone from the public signed up or in-house that wanted to comment on resolution 26-14?
No, we do not have anybody in the room or online with their hand raised.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring resolution 26-14 back to council for final action.
I'll go
I'd
ahead.
like to make a motion to add resolution 26-14.
And I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion by Taylor to approve resolution 26-14 with a second by Langbart. Any further discussion on resolution 26-14 before we vote? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 26-14, Taylor,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart.
Aye.
All right, for in the affirmative, let the record reflect that Coleman was excused from the vote due to a conflict and there was one absent. Motion passes. All right, appreciate everyone's discussion on that. That takes care of all of our regular legislative business tonight. Last item we've got is city manager's report, and this will be in the laydown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just hot off the press, well, first on the page here, page 6 of the laydown is Jackloff Bay Dock Replacement Project. We did unfortunately receive another round of comments from MARAD for our environmental assessment. So those are being addressed, will be sent back to MARAD. They did conduct a site visit on November 24th, 2025. And we had a great discussion about how to get this project rolling sooner than later, as well as followed up with our grant administrator about that here 2 weeks ago, and had a very positive response.
However, it still hinges on this environmental assessment. So as if the environmental assessment can be approved within the month, then let's go ahead and get that RFP rolling. If it's going to take a couple of more months, then let's wait because there's it just a lot can change in that time period, especially within MARAD. So that comfortability of starting the process and then having to do it over was not quite there. So waiting on that response from MARAD on how long they really think this is going to take to get the environmental assessment approved, not feeling super great about another round of comments and another review happening. So I'll give you guys an update as we hear more. We did receive the entry authorization for the Jackloff uplands and are working through that review and signing off on that, as well as the next steps, which include a request for survey and land appraisal, and just keeping it transparent that we have expended $1,000 for the application fee and have issued a certification of insurance for the area. So we are now insuring it. Raw water transmission line, we have a local surveyor who is working up in that area, working on the design, and we'll use that. And that's the design of the new placement of the utility. That will be utilized as a part of the record for the utility easement with the University of Alaska. So they sent us a draft utility easement already and just awaiting those drawings and a determination of cost. That should be able to be a part of the grant in general. But we are waiting back to confirm that can be included, those additional costs for that utility easement. Number 4, the fuel facility improvements was just discussed. So we are scheduled to issue the RFP tomorrow. I'm hoping to hear back from CDBG by then. If not, I'll follow up with them and I'm hoping it's only a couple day delay. But I'm really wanting to get the ball rolling on that. The next several projects you are apprised of what's been happening. Not a lot of change in the last couple of weeks. On number 13, as mentioned earlier, CRW and VSW do plan to be in Seldovia tomorrow, as long as weather allows. For the overview project, our crew has been marking manholes that they need to have access to for the inspection, and as well as talking about some projects and historical information that they'd like to have included. So a lot of it will be based on internal knowledge of some of those water systems. So they're not as easy to inspect as the sewer ones. 14, the SVFD repeater replacement. I believe you had the update that new communication system on the Becker Tower was installed. That was completed as of the week of November 23rd. And the new repeater will be installed here at the school once dispatch is comfortable with the new communication system. I think they still need to get together and just work out what those new procedures are. Has a lot to do with tones and accepting calls and communication, because now they're talking to Homer directly over the radio. The dispatcher is. So just making sure that those pieces are worked out. So we're not completely taking up their airspace, and that everybody's on the same page. Under number 23, we did submit a statement of interest along with our partner out at Kissimmee Bay Lab for a Denali Commission supporting USDA natural resources conservation service programs and partners program for that Fish Creek assessment. So looking forward to seeing if that goes through. And of course, we still have the one with SVT as well. So looking at a multi-agency approach at this point. Some more general project and activity updates. I attended the AML local government conference last week, along with Amon.
Jackie Taylor was able to attend the newly elected officials training, along with Amon, and City Clerk Diamond was able to attend the Alaska Association of Municipal Clerks conference, as well as a banquet with us for the gala for the AML's 75th anniversary. So that was fun. A lot of great takeaways. I did hear from several people that it was almost too much information. They really packed it in this time. It was a lot for me and Amon to try to jump between the different sessions that they had, because they have breakout sessions with 5 or 6 or more different workshops that you can pick to attend, and it's all such great relevant information. So you're just trying to pick the top, and if that one doesn't work, then you might excuse yourself a little bit early and go to the next one. But really just valuable information. And so certainly as we look towards next year in December, if council members want to set some time aside, I highly recommend it. And I'm guessing that council member Amon would as well, or council member Coleman. Some of my top focus areas from that conference were an increase of our social media presence and public awareness of city operations and services, economic development, updating our emergency operations plan that's been sitting on my desk for a year now, and is due. We're supposed to do that about every 5 years. Completing a strategic plan, which may be a great option in the next year or two, instead of doing this annual council priorities, because they seem to be getting really focused and a great system on how that's done. And so maybe the next step of being able to work out how to implement those priorities and keep moving forward in a 5 or 10-year plan could be beneficial. We'll have to explore that a little bit further if that's of interest to the council. And then, as previously discussed, updating those procurement and financial policies. So thank you for including that cash flow management as a council priority for the calendar year 26. Anything you want to add to that, council members Coleman or Taylor?
No, thank you very much for allowing us to go. I learned a lot. It's hard to digest all of it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm just going to second Jackie's response. It was just overwhelmingly positive. Getting to meet, all those other council members and really see what was out there as opportunities. And I think it provided a lot of hope, and I really appreciated the opportunity to be a part of it. Thank you.
Okay, next update. Excitingly, we had a meeting across the borough with the National Tsunami Warning Center last week. Amid the conference, I stepped outside for this meeting with an update from the National Tsunami Warning Center on their warning practices. So this is something we've been pretty loud about as a whole in the borough. I know multiple communities and the borough itself has expressed displeasure in the way that the warning system alerts us when there's little potential for it to actually impact our area. And it has a lot to do with where their warning center stations are, and the fact that we're on this big polygon system that pretty much encompasses our area, encompasses all of the Kenai Peninsula Borough and Anchorage. So big area. And if there's a neighboring area where the sensor goes off and it alerts the neighboring areas, and it's just this big domino effect. So they have put their heads together over the last couple of years, and they're come up with a new procedure or protocol for future warnings that they believe will limit that impact of unwarranted, and maybe that's not an appropriate word, because they did stress that when they do issue tsunami warnings, they have seen actual tsunamis. They're just very low impact. But so looking at and strategizing how to lessen those zones and doing some individual zones within our bigger polygon area, and updating when they push that warning out. They've assured us that with this new practice, we shouldn't receive those in the future. Like if there's a Sandpoint earthquake that's a 7 or a 7.2, we're not gonna receive it. That's what they're saying. If it's an 8, yes, we might receive that warning, but lower than that, we shouldn't be receiving those. They are looking at just, different ways to ensure that we don't have this cry wolf syndrome. And they feel pretty confident in that practice now. And they want to really stress that because they're implementing this new practice or have implemented this new practice, that we really need to pay attention if we do hear a warning. And so with that, I requested that there be a really robust educational campaign to all of our communities to explain that they believe they've addressed this issue. And so if we do hear a warning in the future, we do need to respond appropriately to it. There is some more work still to be done. They want to update the equipment in general and then make those zones even smaller. But that's still at least 1.5 years out. And we've been hearing that for a while, that it's just these things are taking a massive amount of time. So for now, they're working with the system that they do have and updating their internal protocols to lessen that impact to our community. That education campaign was suggestion was really well received, and I think others had thought of it as well. So they're talking about even doing like a road show and coming to all of our communities to discuss it, as well as doing mailers, meeting on Zoom. I'm trying to remember some, social media, of course, posts, but anyway, to get that information out there, that they are or have, they believe they haven't been able to test it because they haven't had an earthquake since, but or not a big enough one that would trigger this response, but they believe that they have addressed that issue. So I'm hoping that that's the case. And we'll see them probably here in the next couple of months. December 26, 2025. This was something else that I saw that other communities were doing when I was in Anchorage at the conference last week, just talking about, employee benefits and appreciation and productivity. And a great suggestion was, hey, how productive are your employees really going to be on December 26th, Friday, coming back to work after 2 days off for Christmas? So I am recommending that we do an administrative leave day that day, just to show a little bit of appreciation and combat the unproductiveness, maybe boost some employee morale. But they get the day off. It's a paid day off. Upcoming council business, we still have this public comment forum for the comprehensive plan update. It was scheduled for December 2nd. You can see it continues to be delayed. There was quite a bit of feedback from the last work session that the council had, and I received a beautiful draft from AML 2 weeks ago, right before the conference. Unfortunately, a few of the bigger items got skipped in that update. So they're going back through reviewing and making sure that all of the requested updates are actually implemented in the plan before it goes out to the public, which will delay that timeline for the public comment period and then adoption a little ways, but it seemed prudent to do it right the first time versus putting it out and then updating it later. So I will give you guys an update on when that's going to be scheduled as soon as I have it. I'm still waiting to see that plan with all of those updates included. And then just putting out there that that we do need to put forward an ordinance appropriating funds for the remaining spray foam installation. So that will be on an upcoming agenda. And everything else, I believe we have discussed. So please let me know if you have any questions. Oh, enclosed, we did not discuss. There's the tier 2 turbidity notice from an October 30, 31st. Turbidity didn't meet the requirements at the water treatment plant, along with a public notice with a little bit more information as requested by council. The last time this occurred, every time I'm hoping it's the last time, but it's definitely finicky working with the equipment and these high turbidity spikes. So we're really hoping to have addressed this fully moving forward, but I can't guarantee it. Homer Foundation Letter of Appreciation, they gave 5,000 in FY25 and 5,000 in FY23 towards the senior meals program. We'll do a nice little post later on this week, tagging them and including them as they requested, just showing support for their program and what they have done to help keep that senior meals program going. I think we served like 3,500 meals in this last year so far. So that's been really exciting that every year it goes up. And then a letter of support for Chugach Mutes of application to the Connect Works Arctic Energy Seed Awards. And that's for that connectivity in our area for Port Graham, Nanwalek, and Seldovia. And with that, please let me know if you have any questions.
Great, thanks, Heidi. Any questions or comments for the city manager on her report tonight? Awesome, thank you. I had one question on the shop now. Since the spray foam, now that we're getting some pretty heavy winds and much colder conditions, are you guys noticing a pretty good? I'm hoping you'll notice a pretty good improvement in there.
Through the mayor, this week, or at least today, I wasn't here last week, definitely noticing a drop of temperature in the building that is just cold in general. But before that, there's an ambient warmth in there that's been really nice, that when you walk in, you can feel that temperature is higher than it used to just rest at. And they weren't running the waste oil stove today, so that was probably part of it. It's just, a little chilly. But in general, before today, I'd say certainly noticing that the building overall is warmer and quieter, except for birds. For some reason, you go out there and the birds on the tin roof are just really loud. But in the windstorms, the building's more stable. So we're not hearing that shaking. There was a time before this, there's been several times when we hit these big windstorms that mezzanine shakes so bad, that about 4 or 5 hours, I'll admit, I was going a little stir crazy every time that happened. I'm like, okay, I can't handle the sound anymore. So not having that too. So a little more structurally sound. It's been great.
Good. All right. Well, that's good. That's good news. All right. Let's see. So item O, informational items not requiring action. City offices will be closed on December 24th, 25th. And it sounds like now January, also December 26th.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. 26th and January 1st for Christmas and New Year's. Item O2, city's employee and volunteer appreciation party will be held on Tuesday, December 16th, which is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Taylor.
None. Thank you.
Okay, Barber.
No comment.
Keithley.
No comment this evening.
Okay, Langbart.
No comment. Thank you, Heidi.
Okay, Coleman.
No comment.
All right. Going on 2.5 hours, so everyone's ready to get out of here. So, all right. Thanks everyone. Appreciate everyone showing up tonight. Next regular meeting will be held on Monday, January 12th, 2026. All right. So the next one that was scheduled for next week, obviously that has been canceled. The one on the 22nd, correct?
Correct, Mr.
No,
Mayor.
it's the 22nd. Okay. Yeah, I saw that on the city's website today, so I was just curious about that. All right. So January 12th it is. And obviously, if we don't see you guys, have a good Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll look for motion to adjourn.
I'll go
I
ahead.
make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Langbart seconds.
Any objection? All right, hearing none. We are adjourned. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate everyone's attendance and have a good evening.
You too, Mr. Mayor.
All
Thank
right,
you, Mr. Mayor.
good night, you guys.